Welcome to the Hometeam Podcast, hosted by my brothers here from another mothers. And just wanted to give you guys a warm welcome in these tough times. And today we're just going to only focus on one topic, and it's a topic that's very dear to each one of our hearts. We grew up in East Lansing. We all attended MSU. And I think all of us had classes at Berkeley Hall where the shooting had happened. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. And to start it off, I would like to say our condolences to the 3 students in the hospital that were lost, and also the 5 students that are still in the hospital. I think 4 are still in critical conditioning. To their parents and their loved ones, it's definitely not easy, but we just felt like we needed to share our opinions on and reactions to the whole situation going on. And yeah, my name is Sam. That's Eve. That's Saeed and John. Get into it. All right, Eve, go ahead.
Okay, I was actually gonna say, not to start with me. I think we should start with actually John, since he's actually taking classes there still in law school now, and work our way going further from East Lansing. So I'll go last.
Yeah, definitely, man. I don't know exactly.
Hello? Oh, I think we lost John.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me,
like this, especially growing up here and stuff. I don't know what we do moving
forward. John, we lost
Jay,
you
for like 10 seconds. Yeah, we just lost you. Yeah, go ahead, Jay. Go ahead. Now you go.
Let me just give a name to those 3 people, though. I think that should be right. Or I can't pronounce it, so I would let Eve, if one of you guys, so I don't want brutal.
The college campus shooting that left 3 students dead and 5 more in critical condition at Michigan State. We're learning more.
Sorry, I was just reading an article and there was a video in the back. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's Ariel Anderson, 19. She was a junior from Grosse Pointe.
Damn.
Brian Bajer, 20. He was also a sophomore at Grosse Pointe. I think he was a president of a fraternity also.
Yeah, his family set up a scholarship too. So the president of the fraternity moving forward will have a full ride. Scholarships named after him.
And then Alexandra Vinier. I apologize. I'm terrible at reading. And she's from Clawson, Michigan. She was a junior at MSU. 2 of them, I think it was Alexander and Ariel, were both in the same class when it happened in Berkeley. In terms of that, I think 7 of the students in that one class were shot at, and 2 of them were the ones that died in the one exact same class.
It's
I guess I'll start off by just saying the story, what's going to happen. He came to MSU, shot at Berkeley. It's John fill me in because you might know him from. And then went to Union, which is literally the building next door, if you know, on campus. And it's literally, both buildings are in downtown East Lansing, which is Grand River, in terms of people who don't know East Lansing. And they're one of the most first parts of campus when you come, like the heart of campus, in terms of, they're not at the heart of campus, but they're the heart of East Lansing in terms of where the city meets the campus. The dead center is the Union, and then the next building right next to it is Berkeley. So the shooter came into Berkeley and then went to the Union and proceeded to be going into leaving East Lansing on foot, which was about, if I have to guess, about 15 to 20 miles when they found him close to his residence.
Said it was about 5 miles. They got him on large street.
Okay, yeah. They got him on large street.
But yeah, they saw him on High Street over by Like, you know, that QD is on High Street. If you keep following it, yeah, that's right where they found him.
And I mean, he made that journey on foot, and we're all shocked because of how the police happened and how far he got away. But you must be familiar with the area to be able to evade so many of the police.
And there's a lot of stuff going on, like, because I pulled up the scanner, you know, being a student and, you know, just living here, like, you know, as it was going down, there is a lot of like false reporting, as far as like they called in, they said somebody said they heard shots at Brody, so the police went through, cleared out Brody, went to they cleared out the whole building, even went to the rooftops. Same thing at Wonders, where there were people that called in that said, hey, I'm at Wonders right now, I'm hearing shots. But luckily there were police at Wonders when they called that in, and the police were like, no, there's no shots here. Like, I'm standing outside. It's not here. But it was difficult for them to track down.
The police scanner, just to add to that, the police scanner, the misinformation was wild. Because at one point I thought like Die Hard was happening at Michigan State, because they had, I kid you not, it said McDonald Hall has a black van pulling up, there's explosives on the back. And I was like, what is going on? Then was this a scene out of Batman? But no, just the misinformation on the scanner or whatever the calls in were just wild. I mean, it looked like Cedar Village just started to throw a riot in this whole situation.
This was at night, right? It was at night.
Yeah, first shots went off at 8:18.
So that's why I was a bit confused. Like, where the students were having class at 8 p.m.
It was night classes. Night classes.
At Berkeley Hall, is most like that's when none of them were freshmen. Those are usually like, you remember the classes that you took at Berkeley.
Yeah, I had classes at night. Yeah, I was just wondering, like, I do want to get into it. Yeah. Okay.
They're usually specialized classes. I think, if I remember, one of them was like it was a Middle Eastern history writing intensive class, in terms of, it's one of the writing intensive university requirement class. But I've had also just spillover classes, in terms of they're not usually at the math building for math majors, at the communication building, at the chemistry building for chemistry class. They're usually spillover university requirement kind of classes. My dad taught at Berkeley plenty of times for his history classes, in terms of that. But that's like, Berkeley Hall is only a classroom hall. There's no food court or anything. There's no people that live there. Berkeley is literally class hall, and they're usually small classes, no more than 30, maybe 40 at most, in terms of seating wise. Just so people understand that description of that. And like, I still call East Lansing home. I guess most of my days and nights are spent in East Lansing now. So, that is still the case in terms of that. And all of you will probably call East Lansing home, but I spend the majority of my week there, in terms of that. When I'm in East Lansing, my primary residence is East Lansing, in terms of that. And like you said, John goes to state. He goes to those about like 4 days out the week. You're on campus.
Yeah, I mean, shit, I was on campus that day. You know, luckily it wasn't a Tuesday. That was another thing that came out with the misinformation, is that the first thing I heard was that they shot up Sni-Fi.
Yeah.
And my first thought was like, that's where I eat dinner 3-4 days a week, you know? That turned out to be false, as far as like the information of him being at Sni-Fi. But yeah, it's some crazy shit. And growing up here, that's the thing that kind of messes with me the most. Like, seeing those, I watch a lot of those videos on TikTok with those new high rises across on Grand River, like right above Target and stuff. They have a great vantage point at the Union. So when he progressed to the Union and did all that, there's a lot of videos out on TikTok of those innocent kids like running out of the Union in panic. And that kind of fucked with me the most, you know, because I got a lot of good memories at the Union. That's where we used to hang out, go get Wendy's, like, you know, a lot of that shit feels tainted, you know, like, you can't look at that building now and think of the good shit that, you know, that you've been through. It's not the same. It doesn't hit the same. And MSU announced that they've moved all the classes out of Berkey for the rest of the semester, in the Union as well. I don't know what the long-term plan is. Honestly, it's a situation you never expect to be in, and I don't know what the administration's going to do. But it'd be hard to expect anyone, especially if you were there when that stuff happened, to ever go back in that building to take classes. So they're shutting it down for this year, but I find it hard to believe that, come in the fall, that's going to be okay. There's history there that you can't get away from. Right. So, I don't know what you do with that. Whether or not you keep it closed until this class goes out in the next class. But I mean, regardless, even if it's not the kids that were there, I mean, you wait 5 years and open it back up, like that shit still happen there, So I don't know what you do with that, but yeah, it's a wild situation, that's for sure. And I mean, we've all been through some shit, and I got kind of like dark humor, I make a lot of jokes about shit sometimes, but it's some other shit when it happens at your home.
Yeah, definitely.
I do want to, I guess, go back. So this is just the first segment of this, is just how we feel about it. And as John iterated, like we literally grew up, all four of us grew up on campus housing when our parents were in Spartan Village, in terms of, and that's where we all met each other 24 years ago, in terms of that, in one way or the other. And we would, especially in the summers, we would all go to campus for, I think we were playing, the biggest thing, just to go on the computer rooms. We would be either there for all day. We'll just hop on bikes and go there all day to play Counter-Strike, really, or any other games, or just surf the web or whatever. But we would spend most of our summers biking there. This is before we got to sports. We'd be in elementary school just as a big mob of kids just going there. And then we'd go to the Union to mess around, sometimes play pool. Sometimes we'd go there to the computer room down there, or eat food or get a drink. And then we'll go back to the computer lab and then ride back to our homes. That's where our summers were.
Yeah, you got all the undergrads that leave, so campus is pretty dead, and all of our parents work on campus. There's nothing to do, it's not, like all of our parents are gone during the day, but like campus is pretty much dead, and we're all hanging out. So we're either playing sports or we're going, I don't know how many times we went up there to the IM, played basketball, or, went up there and, hit the computer lab and played games and stuff. And a lot of the time it'd be like, I'd even go stop by and go visit my mom at the econ department, and like go talk to her and stuff on campus, just because, like in the summers, the school is, there's some people that are still there, but it's not the 50,000 strong that are there during the fall. And, like I said, all of our parents are working. So it's not like, just because they work at a university doesn't mean they have summers off. It's not like elementary school teachers and stuff. So we'd go there like we didn't have anything to do. So I spent a lot of times in those buildings just hanging out and stuff. And I feel like that's kind of,
Yeah, even before going to school there.
Yeah. I mean, I as an 11-year-old, I've been kicked off campus at least 3 times. Like they were like, "Wait, how many? What are you doing here?" I'm like, "What?" They're like, "How'd you get a login?" I'm like, "Okay." My mom's like, "Okay, they said you can't use my login anymore." Yeah, but like we'd be up there, being little menaces.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't breaking any laws. This is at that.
No.
We were just literally just using computer.
Outside of copyright laws, right?
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of illegal downloading going on my part, that's for sure.
Music, especially.
Yeah. That was the hit. That was, Napster, LimeWire, they're all popping, and we were out there.
And this is, I guess, early millennial, in the turn of the century, in terms of 2003, something like that. We were not even in middle school at this time, in terms of that. In middle school, we started playing more sports in the summer, which limited a lot of our antics, and we were mobbing, though, like 8+ to sometimes we had 16 people.
That's
Just
usually how we got
watching.
in trouble, though. They're like, "What are
When
all
we
these
drove it,
12-year-olds doing
exactly.
here?" Like, that's usually how we got keyed. Like, you're hanging out, you got like a you and maybe like 2 other people, you'd probably be fine. But you roll up to the computer lab 12 deep, they're like, "What are these kids doing here?" Like,
Some of
where
us
are
are
your
not.
parents at? I'm like, that's a funny question. She's down the street.
It comes to show also, like, I
Got
know
swatted a couple times.
it comes to show also, like, how open campus is. Like, because you never had to really worry about intruders or like threats from other people,
Yeah.
especially not in Michigan State. They even let kids roam around, um, whether especially during the summers where it's not busy, and that's how Michigan State is. It's just open. It's like, they're not gonna we're not the type of people to kick people out, or it's a community type situation. This is not just for the students, not just for the staff. It's like everything is catered for the town, the city, the people. And I'm a bit afraid that now that these sort of things are happening, especially now it has happened in Michigan State, like it might change the vibe of the campus. Like, you might need to show ID now, wherever you go, or because this guy was not a student. He was a 42-year-old man, right? He was not a student. From what I know, he didn't work at MSU. Like, he was just some guy, and he decided to do what he did. And we'll talk, But anyway, like, my point is, things might change at Michigan State. You might not be able to go to Berkeley anymore. If you're not a student, you might, the union might be closed off for people. Like, maybe not the union, but it's like, and I think that might be what's gonna happen, and that's unfortunate because, like, Michigan State is supposed to be, when people come, anybody can come anytime, visit, check out. It's a beautiful campus, one of the largest in the whole United States, maybe in the world. So, like, it sucks that this is gonna taint that, and this might taint, people's trust. Now, if you're teaching at Berkeley at night and you hear footsteps, like, you're gonna think twice. If you're a student in a classroom of people just trying to learn, and you see someone you don't recognize, now you're gonna think twice. That sort of thing. It's hard to get rid of that.
Yeah, I don't know how you deal with that, because like I had a buddy that sent me a message. He lives in Tennessee now, but he's from Wisconsin, and he sent me a message, and he was like, "Is it true that the campus was open, like the doors were open, like?" And my first initial reaction was like defensive. I was like, "Yeah, but that's true about every university I've been to. Like, there's University of Wisconsin, Madison, La Crosse, like every university I've been to is the same. There might be places that are restricted, right? Like, you go into the econ lab at Wisconsin, you're not going to get into the basement of the computer.
We got onto the Wisconsin field when we visited, remember?
Yeah, we literally walked into Camp Randall and walked onto the $500,000 field turf, and we're out there taking pictures. Like, we were out there for 45 minutes.
I don't know how we got into the stadium, let alone into the building.
So the stadium is open because they have the Bucky's locker room, right? The store that's inside of it. So it's open, but the rest of it is open. They have football offices in there. So like the AD, the coaches and stuff work there, but it's all open, right? But if you take the stadium out, though, if you went over to like the comms building at Madison and it was like during school time, those buildings aren't locked.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like as a student, I have to scan my ID to get in. Like, I have to do that to go into the law clinic because that's a restricted space, and that's information that, like, they don't want everyone to have access to. But if you look at almost every university, it's the same way. It's not like when he sent me that message and was like, "Oh, are all the doors really unlocked?" I'm like, "Bro, have you been to college? They're all like that. Like, that's not an abnormality at MSU."
I did want to point out, though, in the dorms, if you remember, Eve,
the dorms are restricted because people.
But it wasn't like that, though. Because we used to do this at Holmes Hall. If you know Holmes Hall, you know Holmes Hall. But we would not sneak out. We'd live there, but we would go out the back door into the woods, to do whatever.
Yeah, the chief.
And we used to come back from the side doors it would have been cool. But they started putting scanners
on the side doors,
on the sides where you have to scan your.
But they only put scanners on the doors where they have straight access to where your dorms were. If you could still walk into, even if it was late, you could walk into the middle.
During the freshman year, in the beginning, there weren't scanners.
Yeah, same for me. When I lived at Brody, when they first started, they weren't there. But
then they were by the end of the year, though.
Yeah, because they wanted you to go into the front. They wanted to go to the front desk if you had a guest, or if you're showing up late. Like they just want to be able to track people because people live there.
Yeah. And second point, though, like they have always had cameras at all entrance points at the dorm. So, but in my math class at Wells, never. I think in the newer buildings, though, they did have cameras, like the physics building. I think they did have cameras there, but Berkeley didn't have. I mean, when I was
Berkeley,
there,
no cameras.
Union did not have cameras.
Just to be clear, it's Berkeley it's not like the California college.
I don't think cameras would have stopped this situation.
No.
I'm just saying the public don't. Just the public in general, though.
If you think you're being watched, you're less likely to do something, right? Like I'm not saying the cameras would have prevented it, but
I mean, like,
I don't know
there's no footage though. You don't see footage of like if you go to the mall or other attacks. There's like footage. There's no footage you're gonna find because MSU is not cameras heavy. You know what I'm saying?
And that's going to change with this, amongst many other things. That's going to change. Sure. That's going to be heavy surveillance, right? And things like JD and E both mentioned in situations like this, man, we don't know what the outcome is going to be. The outcome of this is definitely going to be the fact that the campus that we grew up for the past 23 years of our lives is no longer the same. And I think the sad part about this whole situation is the fact that, like we all mentioned, we grew up here. I've known all y'all for 23 years. We met each other the first day in Spartan Village, maybe a mile down from main campus. And it honestly perverts the innocence of our childhood. And that's really sad, right? Because at one end, fam, you hear this and you're so desensitized when you hear about it at other places. Like even, I mean, I wouldn't say you don't care, but it's definitely one of those things where it's like, at least it's not where I live. And then it happens where you live, and you don't have the words to describe it, man. All Monday, it just hurt my soul, right? Like Zainab, my little sister, she works on campus, right? She would have probably been working that Monday. She wasn't in class. Berkey Hall is where I went to school for econ, fam. Like that was where my main office was and everything, right? Like those memories came back full, right? And it makes you feel so helpless. I mean, I live an hour down from East Lansing now, fam. But my biggest thing was this: I just want to go there, right? I just want to be with the ones that I grew up with, right? And it was one of those things where it honestly God hurts because it destroys your childhood. You never would have expected this in a million years to have happened where you live, where you grew up, where you were raised.
But your dad still teaches on there, though. Your dad
exactly. My father's still a professor there,
and your family still lives in East Lansing.
Exactly. And my father was devastated, bro. Like I mean, he was fighting the flu, but he was more devastated about this because these are kids. These are innocent kids who came to campus for class, for schooling. And now their parents have to put them in caskets and put them in the ground because of what? Of senseless crime. And that right there is something that you cannot take back. You cannot change. And that is already done. But now the repercussions of that, man, they're going to be felt from here on out. Like you said, we can't we used to be able to go to the campus and just, be us and just go reminisce. And now it's not going to be like that, right?
Yeah, this is going to be like a 9/11 moment.
Especially for us, right? And in situations like this, I think humanity-wise, we just want to have a blame, right? Now, let me ask you this question, though, right? Why is it that we're so hell-bent on giving parking tickets and speeding tickets out there that we couldn't catch this dude on fucking foot? On foot. And that blame, like I said,
I hear you. They used to be real strict.
Hold on. But the thing is, though, I'm not trying to blame anybody on this, right? Because it obviously is no blame except that one person. But fam, he walked around half the campus and caused this carnage and walked halfway through North Lansing, north side. What? Like, where were you guys at?
Have you seen the videos though? I have never seen this.
No, there was that many cops out there. And
yeah,
that's what I'm saying, and I appreciate them so much more, right? But I'm just saying, at this point in time, you just grasp and blame for anything, right? And my thing was just like, and that's where I fell in.
No, I think
my thing was like, I need to blame something, and at this point, it was like, why wasn't there a better, faster action?
Yeah,
why wasn't there a better, faster action?
I get what you're saying. Mm-hmm. It's like you want to get the guy, but if you're in the law enforcement's perspective, I think their number one priority would be to protect the students, which is why they.
No, that's what I'm saying.
You
That's what
know,
I'm saying. In situations
if
like
that
this,
guy
what
left
I'm saying
campus
is, like,
good, you know, we can get him. But
it causes you to start blaming people, and that's where that divide and that dichotomy between us comes in, right? Where I know for a fact the cops did the best that they could. I know for a fact, it's like, everybody that was there, that was able-bodied, was able to do what they want to do. But in your head, when you're not there at that situation, when you just see this and it just ruins you emotionally, that's what happens. You start blaming things that should not be blamed.
Yeah, and that it going on for so long was additionally stressful.
Exactly.
At first, with all the reports and stuff, I'm like, oh, this is really messed up. But then it's going on. I'm like, what? How?
Yeah.
And there, like, it was probably exacerbated by all those people calling and all of the the calls that they thought thought were legit. I'm not saying that people had any bad intentions or anything,
and
but
the sheer impact this has. JD, I've known you for 23 years of my life, man. This week is the 1 week I know where you've been off, right? Like, I've seen the same thing with my dad, same thing with my father, right? And it's seeing those things where it's like, it impacts these people that are so close to you, right? I don't want my boy to be living like, I don't want my father to be, having that type of mindset. And those are the type of things you cannot take back. And that's what hurts you even more, because people like that you love are so impacted by this that their daily lives are put on pause. Those interactions you have with them on a daily now are different, because obviously they have gone through something so emotionally detrimental to them that you can only offer so much, right? Like my man from what was that? What was the politician that said, "Fuck your thoughts and prayers," right?
From Canton, the Democrat from Canton.
Right. And at that point, fam, like, okay, sure, right? Why not? Okay, what is thoughts and prayers going to do? But at the end of the day, you can just hope and pray to God that this doesn't happen anywhere else, right? Because let's be very honest, it's a never-ending story. This time around, it was our hometown. Next time around, it's going to be someone else's hometown. They're going to have the same exact emotions, right?
Can we key up the Tom Izzo video from the vigil?
Maybe you can send it to me on a link.
Yeah.
So hold on. Before we get to, like, I think we're gonna start getting into like issues now. So I just want to give my perspective of being away from there. Actually, when I heard about it,
find out.
John told me, right? Yeah, I think John, you said something on Snapchat, right? Yeah. And I immediately looked it up, and then Tony was on there too, one of our buddies. And then I was ever since that moment, I stopped everything what I was doing. I was at work because it's at night. It was in the morning for me, and I was just keeping up live on Twitter and on TikTok, and people were posting videos from campus. People hiding out in the bunkering up in classrooms and offices.
Yeah, that was the craziest shit.
Yeah. So I was keeping up live, and then there was the sighting of him walking from the Union through campus to the back, and so like there was. So I was just keeping track. I'm like thinking, okay, they should catch him. Michigan State's not that hard to find out, like Said said, but if he got away, and then at some point we find out that like literally 2 minutes after someone tweeted it, I saw that the guy unalived himself. So the thing is, like, but that's not the part. I mean, that one is shocking, and I think everybody was doing that. But what's crazy was like later that day, I would get text messages from my colleagues because they know I went to school in Michigan. They don't know like Michigan State. Some of them do know Michigan State, but some of them think just Michigan, so they hear the word Michigan. It's like, oh my God, is this where you're from? Or is this where is this the university you went to? And what's weird is like whenever there's mass shootings before in America, they'll ask like, is this close to you sometimes? Or like, does this happen often? Or does this like, is this where you're from? Because they don't really know the geography of the US. But this time I had to say yes, because it's like, is this where you're from? It's like, yeah, this is Michigan State. That's where I went to school. And it's just so weird to say that it actually happened, because mass shootings have been going on for a long time in the US and more now. But like, we start Columbine, and then Sandy Hook, all that stuff. Virginia Tech on campus. And you always think, like Said said, well, yeah, it happened, but there's always that fear. that, oh my God, when is it going to happen to us? When is it going to happen in my town? Right? But then it's like, to me, that's why Saeed said the other day, like, we never would have thought that it would happen to us. But it's actually not the feeling I've always had. In my mind, I've always thought it's going to happen, and it did. Because it's just too much every day. It's just and it's like, it finally happened, and now it's just, let's make sure it doesn't happen again, because it's been happening.
The sad
so
thing
much.
is, the sad thing is that it's at this point in time, I feel like that's one of those things where anytime you turn on Instagram, fam, there's Hogwarts Legacy came out, and there is a meme down there that says when a Hufflepuff starts acting up, the American exchange students just shoot him, right? And like, the whole world is, we're honest, we're in the view of the whole world, right? Think about it this way: kids in schools, man. Like, I remember when Pakistan, there was a shooting that happened that killed like 35 kids, right? It was harrowing, right? But like, bro, we do that here so often that it becomes a part of like a yearly thing where it's just like, good Lord, again. Like, well, how did this happen again? But, and JD and I were talking about this actually, and I'm sure we'll get to this as well. Is it preventable? Easily, very easily so. Theoretically, is it preventable realistically, right? And that's the issue, right? What could you do in a situation like this? Well, arm somebody else to take this gunman down, right? Because we know gun laws ain't changing. Let's be very honest, right? We know that's not changing, okay? Like, because I mean, don't get me wrong. As much as we want to sit here and talk about it, is it going to?
Sorry,
right? What? Because
Sam, I need host sharing, Sam. Go ahead. Sorry, I need to share screen.
All I was gonna say is, like, how do you change it?
Okay,
like,
we can talk about.
You can make gun laws to make it more restrictive, right? But like, if you look at this specific instance,
yeah,
what do you do differently? He's not a felon.
What? Yeah, I
right?
mean, look,
like, there's
like,
either you go straight England style and we get rid of fucking guns.
Yeah,
right?
there is. We had this discussion. Okay.
Before we get to what we can do afterwards, I do want to make a point to, in terms of what I hate the most about this, especially, is when people politicize, and I guess we are, if I'm honest, we are doing something like that, where we are politicizing a very tragic situation, and in terms that we're doing a little bit of that, but and maybe it's even a little bit of that is for our personal gain. In all honesty, we're not intentionally doing that for that, obviously, but we're just trying to share our experiences and our reaction and how we feel in terms of this particular situation. But what I hate seeing is when politicians, not just politicians, local administrations, even MSU, use this for their agenda, in terms of steering everything for their agenda. In terms of that, I do want to say something like that too, but I do want to read something before the video. In terms of that, so this is from Columbus Psychology or psychocharity.org. They did a study, and one of their findings on this is the question was asked. One of the answers, are people with mental illness disorders more likely to commit mass shootings or mass murder? The public links, I'm just going to read it word for word. The public links serious mental illness, like schizophrenia or psychotic disorders, was violent to mass shootings. But serious mental illness, specifically psychosis, is not the key factor in most mass shootings, but other mass murders. Approximately 5% of mass shootings are related to severe mental illness. Although a much greater number of mass shootings, about 25%, are associated to non-psychosis or neurological illnesses, including depression, and an estimate including depression, and then another estimated 23% with substance abuse. in most of these cases is incidental. So what it's saying, though, basically is saying where majority of these, not majority, about 25% is mental illness, but it's not serious mental illness in terms of where it is schizophrenia or psychotic issues. But these are more of the stuff that we all deal with on a day-to-day basis in terms of depression. I don't know if it's diagnosed or not, but in terms of depression or neurological illnesses, but more of a mental side effects in terms of nothing serious, but it's something that we deal with on a day-to-day basis that if not addressed leads to I'm not saying it leads to mass shooting, but if not addressed leads to more severe damages. And the other one is substance abuse. So if you combine between both of them, that's about 50% in terms of majority of the mass shootings is substance related and also not mental illness in terms of some type of way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously somebody that goes and does some shit like that has mental problems, right?
Yeah.
But like for the majority of people that have been diagnosed with like a delusional disorder or things like that are nonviolent.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like they might be off kilter, but they're not, you know, obviously mental illness impact, like an individual that's of right mind doesn't do some shit like that, right? But that's not like, it's not to say like, you know, it I don't want to stigmatize people that seek help and get diagnosed and go through, you know, because those people are not the people that do this type of shit. Like the people that do this type of shit are the ones that don't get help, have mental issues, have those stressors, isolate themselves, don't have, you know, any type of like support system. Like they have mental issues, but they're not, you know, not blaming it on the mental issues. Like it's like they say that, like, you know, all this shit is like uniquely American, which is true because we, you know, like we are one of the only nations that have the gun laws that we do, but we're also one of the only nations that isolate the way that we do. You know, like Saeed, like one thing that I always thought, like as a kid, that I always like really loved about your family is like the cohesiveness, right? Like you talk about your family from Pakistan, how they live together, they're one unit that move together, right? And that's something in the US that we don't do. Like I have extended family that I had relatives that reached out to me I haven't talked to in years. Like, oh, are you okay? Like this is going on. Like obviously wouldn't want to, you know, rather have like, you know, a comfortable relationship outside of that. But like if you look at the US, even outside of the gun thing, like another thing that we do is we're like, oh, we stand on our own feet, we do our own thing, and we don't like we're very individualized, right? Like if you look
mentally
at
burnt out,
we don't have that cohesive community feel, right? And some of those people get lost.
Yeah. Everything is nuclear in the U.S. and I think it's designed to be that way. It's easier to convince individuals than, you know, whole groups to do things. But I do, before I play the video, I do want to respond to this Sam's politicizing. I do agree that people do politicize and they shouldn't politicize things based on their own agenda just to push their own agenda. But at the same time, a lot of people that say, like I'm talking about politicians particularly, that we shouldn't politicize these things are only saying it to avoid talking about it. Like, I think there should be discourse about this. Like, the only way this will be solved is through policy, nothing else. So it has to be politicized at some point. You know, I get that we need to, you know, pay respects, and we shouldn't push agendas for other people's benefit. But the only way to solve this problem is through policy. So eventually we're gonna have to talk about it. And when I say we, I mean like national politics.
Man, we're too bureaucratic for that, bro. We're too bureaucratic for that shit, bro.
And
like, come on.
And to
like in a country this advanced, we still question if global warming is a real thing. You think they're about to get rid of guns?
That's what I'm saying. That's because we're not having the problem.
That's a real thing.
Yeah, finally, it took a while, but now it's about who's causing it and what will stop it.
I'm talking about like there's certain individuals still in Congress that will not believe global warming is a real fucking thing. These elected officials that will deny something.
And
Public,
so
deny
Yeah,
something.
they're probably from coal producing states though.
yeah, that's probably it is.
I
And
do wanna
also,
point
Well, I
out
mean, that's the thing, though, right? Over here, fam, everything becomes monetizing. Everything's about money.
Yeah.
Look at all the incidents that we've had with just the train derailments recently, right?
okay,
I mean, if you look into like the deeper issue behind that, right? I mean, I'm not going to get into too much about it, but it's just essentially, guess it's a money making thing,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
You
It is.
cut
Yeah.
costs and
Yeah.
you make
100%
these people work
preventable.
longer.
These are preventable.
Exactly,
deaths.
and the issues are with bro. We're so hell bent on money, but let's be honest though, right? And I think that's the thing about humanity. When you're not part of the corruption, it sucks. Right? It really sucks looking from the outside, doesn't it? When you're part of the corruption, it's a completely different game, bro.
I think you're
Well,
just
it's like,
projecting.
hey, you know,
I know what you're gonna do when you have
I mean,
power.
that is true.
Yeah,
It
it's
doesn't
hard
make
to
it
fight.
right.
Yeah,
Power corrupts
yeah.
absolutely, bro.
Yeah,
Hold on,
absolute power,
absolute
yeah.
power corrupts
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay,
That's
let's be
the
honest. It
truth.
doesn't matter how much of a saint you are, right?
Yeah.
If each one of us got $1 million, how much of that are you donating before you buy your Lamborghini out there?
I mean,
In
look
today's
at
age,
look at
$1 million ain't
AOC
doing
now,
shit.
man. She was like for the
Yeah,
people
but
and
you'll
stuff,
take it.
and now she's just
Pay
like
off my house.
one of the
yeah.
others. Anyway, okay, I do want to talk
I
more
wanna point
about.
out, though, well, before we go to that video, what in terms of that, what John said in terms of the mental health stuff, people falling, some people getting forgotten and stuff. In this case, so he lived at home with his parents. Some
His
of the
dad,
blame
yeah.
has to be brought on them. They let it be. They the environment. They did not proceed to pay attention. They proceeded to also neglect it and enable this behavior at some point. in terms
Yeah,
of
I mean,
not
I hear
being
what you're
proactive.
saying.
And there's so much that they can do. Don't get me wrong. There's so
Yeah.
much they can do, but and there's some points where somebody can't help, especially if it's your kid, that you will proactively try to seek help for them in
Yeah.
terms of that. That's
Yeah.
all I mean. Obviously, I'm not saying they should be in jail or have to be a huge fine. That's not what I'm saying. But who knows if it could have been preventable? That's not what I'm saying either. But dude's 43, living at home. You could have.
No car.
All I'm saying is maybe done a little bit more in terms of
Yeah.
having him get more help in terms of.
Yeah, and especially
I
with the
don't know.
reports from the neighbors coming out.
I don't know. I mean, I
Right,
wanted to.
so-
yeah, you're right. What did the neighbors say? Sorry.
So the background story, he got caught with a concealed weapon in 2019, right?
Yeah.
He was hanging out outside smoking a cigarette. Police
Uh-huh.
rolled up. They asked him what he was doing there, if he worked there. He was like, no. They asked him, do you have a weapon on you? He was like, yeah, I got a weapon. And so, they arrested him and they asked him, like, do you have a CCW? Have you gone through the 12-hour training, right? If he had gone through it, no issue, but, he hadn't. Yeah, but he had, concealed, loaded weapon on him.
And you need
So
a
he
permit
got
to
charged
conceal,
with-
right?
Yeah. In Michigan, you can open carry with no issue, but if you're going to conceal a weapon, you have to have a CCW, whether it's in a vehicle or on your person.
Okay.
And so he got charged with a felony, right? Plead down. There's a lot of people out there like trying to attack the prosecutor for that case, saying like, oh, he should have been a felon. He wouldn't have like blah blah blah. But personally, I don't blame him because like the guy, like. Outside of what we know now, what they knew at that point wasn't that bad. He said, I'm in Lansing. I went to go pick up cigs. It's like 1:30 in the morning. Lansing's a dangerous place. I didn't want to leave without my gun. So I brought my gun.
Yeah.
Then they move, so he gets charged with the felony, does the plea agreement to a misdemeanor. I don't know what it was. The legal possession of whatever it was a misdemeanor. Right. But after that happened, he goes through probation. He goes through his year. He didn't make it through probation without having some type of failure because they extended it. So he went through a year. They extended it 6 months. He goes through it, finishes it out. Probation's closed. Charges wiped. But then neighbors reported, I don't know exactly the time frame, but I want to say it was less than a year ago that they heard shots fired outside of his house, like target practice, right? Police show up. He tells the police it's firecrackers, right? That's the fucking Lansing thing to do, right? Like,
sure.
It's just fireworks, bro. They tell him no big issue. But like the reports that I've seen from his dad was like he told him like, yo, you're not allowed to be doing this stuff. You can't have a gun in my house. And he's like, I don't have a gun. And then but after the police get called on him doing the like target practice in his backyard, his dad finds shell casings, right? Like 30, I'm not just a couple, like 30 something.
Jesus.
And he was like, oh, that was somebody else.
What?
Like, so somebody broke into your backyard. Like, obviously he knew he was lying.
Right.
Right. But he was like, yo, if you have this gun, like, I know you have a gun, you can't have it in the house. And he was like, okay. And then his dad said that at one point, like, you know, he confronted him and he said he got rid of it. Obviously that wasn't true. But yeah.
Okay, I think we're starting to get into like the I forgot the word. We're starting to get into it now. So I'm gonna play the video first, and then we can, just to finish off the whole tribute to the tragedy. But I do want to say, like, to start off after that is, yes, in hindsight, like, this guy seems like someone we should have been looking at, but like, how many people in Lansing, like, you know, we have to think about the economy as well and how it is. Like, how many people are in his situation? You know what I mean? There's a lot of people in his situation. So he's not unique.
And how do you tell someone to mourn, right?
Exactly.
Like, they talked about how his mom passed away, and like, obviously his dad knew that he was going through something, but like, this isn't, it's like the same shit when we were like, oh, I can't believe it happened here. I'm sure he's thinking, I can't believe that was my kid. You know,
yeah,
like,
exactly. And
he
it's
knew
like,
that he was going through it and he had demons, but like, that's not an expectation that you like normally have. You know, like, you might be like, okay, he's struggling, but you don't anticipate this type of action.
Nobody does, right? And it's like, if you were to arrest everybody with gun permit issues, that's like half the population of Lansing. So I'm gonna play this.
And there's an argument to be made that those laws are not just. I mean, depending on how you feel about gun control.
So do we just play where? Should we play? Is this
go
the clip?
No, that's Whitmer. Go
okay.
down. There's another one that's just
here we
Izzo. And I want to say this before we start this. Like, I got to give a shout out to Izzo because he
is the glue that holds us together.
Legend.
Yeah, and he is just a great person. And there's a lot of difficult situations that he didn't cause, right? Like the Nasser shit, right? Obviously, that was another black eye for MSU that he had nothing to deal with, nothing to do with. Like, it's not, But when all that stuff happened, he stood up as like, hey, like, I'm the guy you guys think of MSU, and he held us together, and he's just always been a good person, like, even like when we were growing up, Guadalupe, his daughter, right, went to MSU, or sorry, didn't go to MSU. She might have, but when we were growing up, she went to Spartan Village when I was a kid, and I remember him driving in. It was always an event, like in 4th grade, like. He'd drive in with the Lexus and all the kids would go around, and, you'd think after a while you'd start to get irritated and stuff, but every day he'd get out there, sign autographs, smile. Like, we went to East Lansing, right? And we're sitting there during a varsity game. We're all sitting out there throwing the football around, like, just playing around. I don't know what he was doing, if he was dropping his daughter off or whatever, but he's leaving the parking lot, and we were all freshmen sitting out there. And I remember him coming by and like talking to us and stuff. And I was just like, man, I can't believe like he is a legend, but I can't believe that he came by and spent like, it's not like reporters around or anything like that. And he came up just to like try to instill good values in the next generation. Right. And like, I can't say enough good about him, man. And I think this clip speaks to it as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Let me play the clip.
No girlfriend right now.
I normally speak more often.
Can you hear it?
But
Yeah.
following the governor and the president and doctors, and you're just a basketball coach, I decided to put a little more into it. So I'd like to start by offering my condolences on behalf of my family, Lupe and Stephen, Raquel. And Stephen was at one of the buildings 2 nights ago, about 10 minutes after things happened. So sometimes we don't understand because we haven't been through it. That little moment brought me a little closer to understanding. But as well as our entire university community who was impacted by the horrific actions Monday night, I'm representing our athletic department, and I feel like Michigan State, my 40th year here. I don't like the place. I don't love the place. I live the place. To the families of those who were senselessly taken from us, words seem so hollow right now. To the individuals currently fighting for their lives in a hospital and their families, we're praying for you. And I know that my wife and I got a chance to go to the hospital. I know Governor Whitmer was there, and I know our president was there, and unbelievable people. There are so many good people in the world, the doctors, the nurses. Although, for me, I'm also a father of 2 Spartans of my own. I can't begin to imagine what all of you are going through. But I do know that we, as a campus community, can offer our support both to you and to each other. Look around. Look next to you. Shake somebody's hand. Introduce yourself to someone you don't know. That's what we are. And that's what we need to be at this time. I'd like to offer a special thank you, as all have, to our first responders who seem to get paid little and has to put their life on the line each and every day, as I've learned through my own assistant coach not that long ago. The coordinated response from law enforcement from around the state, from the FBI, the EMS, to the hospitals, was nothing short of remarkable.
ATF too.
And to the students who listened to the shelter in place directive, your ability to follow protocol, even in the face of fear, was incredible. If you use that throughout your life, it will be helpful. I won't be long, but I did want to offer a few words that some of you will hopefully find helpful. Michigan State is my home. Everyone thinks I'm a Yooper. Yes, that's where I came from. But virtually
Iron
all
Lake.
of my adult life, I've been a Spartan. I've seen some incredible highs. And yes, unfortunately, there have been some devastating lows. But as a Spartan, we always get through it together. We're Spartan tough, Spartan strong. If you need proof, look at us all standing here tonight. Each and every one of us. We've come for many different reasons: to heal, to grieve, to honor our victims, to stand up to fear, but you're going to have to do a lot in your life. Whatever you're feeling, it's all valid. Emotions are different for each and every person. I cry in front of my team. I cry on national TV. Don't be afraid to show your emotions. We all process trauma in a very different way. I'm just glad we're all here together tonight. So let me close with the challenge. Let's all do a better job taking care of one another. Through no fault of our own, but COVID has led us to all feel a little more separated from one another. It drives me crazy. We need each other. For 40 years, I've always believed that at Michigan State, we are at our own strongest when we're together. In athletics, the best teams are always greater than the sum of their individual parts. The same is true for our community. Governor Whitmer, you should be proud that, not only did our police, not only did our hospitals, but just the individuals in our community all band together at this incredible university that I have given most of my life to, and have a lot more to give in the future. If any of you need help, please speak up. Be vulnerable. Don't be afraid. It's no secret that I do wear my emotions on my sleeve, so I'm not afraid. Our hearts are heavy. Our loss has been great. Our lives have been permanently changed. But with a shared commitment to help each other, and a promise to remember those we have lost. We will learn to find joy once again. I think everybody spoke that something has to be done in our society. Gun violence is insane right now. We all have a platform. Some are small, some are high, but we all have a platform. And I hope each and every one of you use your platform to help others, so other families don't have to go what these families are going through now. I appreciate everybody being here, and before you leave, I hope you meet the 10 people around you and become closer. The world needs it. Michigan State needs it. The grieving time needs it. I need it. Now it's my privilege to introduce two of our incredible student leaders. And that's what we need, more leaders. Please welcome Joe and Hannah to the platform.
That's a
Damn. God damn.
That's a perfect segue into, I guess, it's the next thing that I want to talk about, which is, or I should talk about, which is how do we move on and from this, and what action should be taken next in terms of
Also, but before that's a big question. I think we should definitely tackle it. Before it, I want to give just a quick light note on what Izzo said about, doing good things and making the world a better place. Today is the national. I mean, they make a lot of fake holidays, but today is National Random Acts of Kindness Day, right? So I feel like we should highlight that too, on top of all the negative shit that happened. And sorry, Sam, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but before we could dive into the deep stuff, I just wanted to say, if you see an opportunity today to do something to help another person that you might not know, the world would be a better place if you go ahead and do that.
And before we continue, I think Tom Izzo makes a very good point, right? We shouldn't have tragedies like this be a segue for us to be more camaraderized, or if that's even a word. But camaraderie should not come from something this detrimental to society. We need to start appreciating each other. We need to start being able to talk to each other, right? Being able to be there for each other before we even have to get into situations like this. And I think us four have the luxury to do so with each other, where many people might not have that. Many people will yearn for what we have amongst us four.
Facts.
And the sad fact of the matter is, right, like, I love y'all, bro. Like, we've known each other for how long? I consider you my brothers, and I'm glad to have you in my lives, because there's times like this where even other times where, I don't know what I would do without y'all.
Yeah,
and
same, man, same. I don't know what I'd do without you or Sam this week, man. I've been down. I haven't been sleeping well, haven't been taking care of myself, and Saeed's been hitting me up. Hey, man, you doing okay? Hey, Friday check-in. I hope you're doing all right, man. And it's the little stuff, and it means a lot, like, I didn't feel like doing shit all week, like Sam dragged me to the gym today, right? And I I was trying to avoid it, my lazy ass, but it like that made me feel better, and like Sam and Azam reaching out, like we need to spread the love, and it might sound cliche and whack and all that type of shit. I don't give a fuck, man. I love
not at all, bro. I fucking love you. And there's too much hate in this fucking planet, bro, right? There's so much hate, dog. Like, for the love of God, we hate on the little minute differences that we have. And the sad thing is,
says like, Mr. Hater.
Hell yeah, bro. I'm just gonna hate on you. I'm gonna love the shit out of you, right? It's the fact of the matter, like, in a situation like this, bro, like, who knows if this man had just had someone to talk to take his mom's death away from his mind, he wouldn't have done this. And maybe that is what the whole point Izzo's making, right? Like, we have each other where we can talk to each other. And I think as men especially, and this is something that, like, I'm now grasping at damn near 32, is, bro, we are so hell-bent on just making sure that everything stays right here. Right here. And if there's any emotion that comes out, right, you're
bottle that shit back in, right?
Exactly.
That's what a lot of people do.
You shed a tear, you're weak. Tom Izzo is is probably one of the most manliest men out there. And this man got on the podium and had no fear of showing tears. He's done that so many times before. And sometimes, man, that's what you really just need, is just having that shoulder to rely on. And in our societies these days, unfortunately, fam, like that shoulder sometimes comes in too late. And then when it does come in, it fades even faster. Because it's been since Monday, right? CNN hasn't talked about it. Fox News hasn't talked about it. CNBC hasn't talked about it anymore. It's done. It's over. What's the next thing that we got to talk about, right? Let's go ask those parents' kids if it's over for them. Let's go ask for those kids in the hospital if it's over for them. They're still suffering, man. Let's look, JD. You're indirectly suffering. My father is indirectly suffering, and the point being is just, bro. You got us, bro. You know, we got each other.
Yeah, and
that's a lot for love.
I mean, yeah, they start. I forgot what I was about to say, but yeah, man. At the same time, you guys are all right about like we need to be, especially men, do need to not bottle things up so much and be more vulnerable and actively seek help. But on the other side of that, the rest of us that do have each other, like we have each other, we also need to also extend the grapevine to those that are in need. So
yeah, exactly.
We
see
need
somebody
both
struggling
things,
that doesn't have that support system, pull them in.
Yeah, both
Like
things
everyone
need
needs
to
Pull them in,
people.
brother.
We are pack animals. You know, like
Exactly.
humans are pack animals.
Yeah.
And
like JD mentioned earlier, bro, maybe it is the Western society where we are taught so much to be independent and taught so much to be standing on your own 2 feet, because God forbid you get any help, right? But maybe it's time to change that narrative. Maybe it's time to accept the fact that, hey, we need each other, and we've been needing each other. And the sad fact of the matter is, us killing each other is only making things worse.
Yeah, and like you said, they don't talk about Michigan State anymore. Well, I mean, unfortunately, on the national stage, there's so many things going on.
Like, I mean, obviously, and I'm talking about in country wise, obviously.
Yeah, but going back to like you guys said, man, I love you guys, and like I unlike you guys, I don't have any other siblings, so you guys are like the closest things I have to brothers, like real.
No one
brothers,
wants to be your sibling.
Man, we come on, dude. We've been siblings since day one. I think it's too late now, brother.
But Eve, I assume I'm a sibling. You know how many times I've eaten Pizza Hut at your house? Your mom acts like I'm one of you, so I appreciate that.
All of our moms act like that too.
Yeah, shit. Hey, you know where'd I go to for Thanksgiving this year, Sam? You know, like, man, y'all are my family.
Yeah,
bro, my dad be mad with dad with JD not there at half the family events. Like that, he got lost.
If someone else could appreciate his fucking keen eye for photography, maybe you would be so happy.
Bro, that man
has some of the best pictures ever, and I'm the only one there. You're like, this is fucking amazing.
No,
he's like, no, aren't even looking
it's
at it.
It's because he shows it to you. I'm like, never see photography. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing here? Get out of here.
I used to go to Saeed's house and like I'd be like, oh, these are nice pictures. Who took it? It's like, my dad took it. And you'd just be like, yeah, just my dad took it. I'm like, those are actually nice photos.
Yeah, you take it for granted.
No. It's all funny.
This is when you were there. He was like, I was at the Grand Canyon for 3 hours, dude. I waited for the perfect lighting.
No. Hold on. What JD's not telling you about this story though is the JD saw this at my baby shower, right?
Yeah.
And guess who didn't have one photo at the baby shower? Man, there's a picture of me and my shoulder that he cropped out my shoulder out of. And I was like, Dad, that was the only photo I was in. And he was like, why did you
I will say, out of all the trip pictures, you weren't in any of them.
No, because guess what? They went to a Europe trip without me. They went to the Grand Canyon trip without me. They went to the Banff trip without me. And I was like,
without you. You didn't want to go. Keep it real.
Somebody has to take accountability for getting his passport worked out and getting his shit.
hey, if anybody from these, the UCISC is ever going to watch this, please help a brother out. I've been here for 22 years. I'm more American.
Yeah, man, this man is the most American.
Hey, look, bro. Hey, if anything, I could have voted out. I would make some changes if I could.
He's definitely contributed more to the tax basis than I have.
Let's go to what we can do, though. Let's move on to what we can do. I guess I know for me, I'll start it off there in terms of that. we all know growing up in East Lansing is very policed. Some I would argue maybe on the extreme side. There's campus police,
maybe,
which has more. At least when I attended, which campus police, which has more police men and women than the city police in terms of that. They have more troopers, whatever, police men or women, whatever. And then there's city police, and then the state police is down the road in terms of the facility. When Welcome Week was a week long, that was when the whole party used to be there more. So it's policed very well.
Yeah, it policed very well
very
from
well,
an MIP standpoint.
Yeah,
I've got 7 speeding tickets on campus.
But you know what I'm saying? Like,
East
East Lansing has never really had crime problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? They're policed very well at the point where they're like, if you're 19 and you're holding a red cup, chances are they're going to catch you. You know, and I've had law professors that say the same thing, right? Like when you go to do bar certification, you have to say, you know, anytime you've ever been in trouble, anything that's ever happened, like blah blah blah. Like one of our professors that works for the grievance department for the Bar Association of Michigan said, like, oh well, if it happened in East Lansing, you know, like if it happened anywhere, like, you know, obviously you have to disclose it, but she was like, yo, just so you guys know, like, we were well aware of the fact that they're very good about catching you guys in East Lansing.
Yeah, and I mean,
like it's a known fact in the legal community, even outside.
We
of,
are everybody on this call is 4-0 when it comes down to the police department and versus us.
Define the 4-0, man.
0-4.
We've all been shafted by the law and Nick of the law, bro. At one point or another, we've all been shafted.
That's
in
facts.
Whether it be MSU PD, whether it be ELPD, whether it be state PD, bro.
Yeah,
and the thing is, I've got pulled over with each and every single one of y'all too for shit that is irrelevant. You go 5 miles an hour too fast
for shit that's not even illegal now.
Exactly, and like Sam said,
it's a pass, but
yeah,
I don't want this to be used as an excuse for more of that.
Absolutely,
but I would think that would be more negative than that. So the policing aspect of this, even with having more police, wouldn't have prevented this. In terms of the openness,
did you see the videos? They had so many police there.
Yeah, but the thing is,
we live so much close to Meridian Township, which has their own police. Lansing Police PD, which eventually caught the guy. Which was near
also, shout out to that woman on High Street
who pointed her out. Yes.
Yeah, because she saw him walking outside of her house. She had her kids there. She could have easily just ignored it, but she said she kept looking out the windows because she was worried that they might be coming by. She saw the pictures of the guy with his jean jacket, saw that it was him, called it in.
Nice.
But, you know, like it would have been a lot easier to just, like, you know, shelter in place, you know, like especially with children, you know, like I was out here like, this dude comes to Kipling, I'm fucking ready, you know, but like,
JD was on the phone with me, he's ready.
Yeah. And then
I got rounds ready for him. I'm waiting for him.
Yeah, well, the thing is, right, like you also, like Sam said, like more policing, right? Is that really the answer, right? Do we need to add more police to Michigan State, fam? Like what?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Like at some point you hit an inflection point.
No, I'm saying, no. That's I agree with that, right?
I'm not saying more policing in terms of police people, but after seeing this and thinking back on it, and we talked about this with John throughout the week too, MSU doesn't really have that many cameras on deck.
We don't, bro. But then again,
really
I think that's the one thing that separates us.
It was a similar issue, you guys,
compared to our high school, which has cameras every corner, though.
Oh yeah, bro. You can't go. Outside of like taking a piss, you can't go anywhere in East Lansing, inside or outside, where they don't see you. In
there is no blind spot. They'll have 2 camems just at you at the high school. And this is
bro. You can't.
And that was another issue with the student from he's from Oakland County. He didn't go to MSU. I think he went to Grand Valley. He came in October for the Michigan State game. He was 18 years old, visiting his friends in the dorms, and then said that he was leaving to go to a different dorm. And you know, he was missing for a long time, and it turned out he passed away and he drowned in the river. But there was a lot of talk for like months, like, oh, why aren't there cameras? Like we know that he left, you know, Holmes Hall, or I don't know if that. I'm pretty sure it was Holmes. I could be wrong, but
yeah,
they knew that he left and that he was going to the other side at Brody.
Was
they
he
were
drunk?
Yeah, he was 18
Pissed
years
drunk.
old here for the Michigan
Obliterated.
State game. Yeah, he was
Well,
definitely intoxicated.
there is a big ass river. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But the big like another big issue is like they looked for him for like 50, over 50 days. They couldn't find him because it was in October where the
Was it that long?
river's freezing over. Yeah, bro. I got flyers on the weekly basis. Like, have you seen this kid? Like, yeah, it was constant. But they had no idea what happened.
We know this too. It was called in Holmes Hall that the trail that goes off.
Yeah, the drop off.
I don't want it's
Is
race
that it?
trail.
Yeah, it's a hiking trail. Yeah. It's a running
It's
trail.
called the race trail. Race trail in terms of I don't know what adjectives to use.
It's a trail. It's a trail, bro.
Am I
People
the
go
only one
jogging
that doesn't
there.
know what we're talking about?
Yeah, I know it's the trail. But what was that? What was the nickname for it?
There's no nickname. It's just a trail, man.
I don't know.
On the back of
I
my
just
It was
remember
called
as
the
the
race trail.
first
It was
time, the
literally
first
called the
place that I
race
threw
trail.
up.
Oh, it
It
was
was
called.
called the
Oh,
rape
yeah, it is. It was called the rape trail.
I was not
Yes,
trying to use that word, but it is
Grape.
that's
You
what it
use
was
grape. Grape. Use grape.
called. Yeah, grape. It was called the grape trail. in
Oh,
terms-
where they have all the emergency phones.
Yeah. There's
Yes,
some
exactly,
there.
exactly. Along that way. I mean, like, so that lets you know how there is a history of that. Really, in any college campus, but
Yeah.
there's MSU has a problem with that in terms of those stuff. So I would say more cameras in terms of that. Access to building or not, anybody can follow right behind you to get into the building.
Yeah, I don't know what we.
Bro, but even when y'all
Okay,
was
hold
college,
on.
man, we couldn't get there past 9 p.m. without having an ID, bro. Like,
Yeah, but this
that was
wasn't in a.
already-
This wasn't. This
it
wasn't.
was at
in-
818.
This wasn't
it
in a.
It wasn't a dormitory. It wasn't.
And then
You know what I'm
also-
saying? Like,
Also,
yeah, but
I
I'm
don't
saying
know
the
how much
safety measures that we have already.
cameras can help if like to find
Cameras
the
don't
guy.
prevent shit.
Yeah, to find the
Yeah.
guy after the fact. Maybe if he doesn't plan on offing himself, but like
Yeah.
in this situation specifically, the cameras would not have done anything.
Honestly, I have an
No, I
out of the
completely
box
agree. I
solution.
completely agree though on that portion.
I have an out of the box solution.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Let me finish my.
Oh, yeah,
my
go ahead, go ahead,
Sam,
Sam,
do
go
your
ahead.
thing. Do your thing.
So I would suggest more. It would feel students would feel safer moving forward. It was what we can do moving forward. I mean, I hate to say it, but we did less, especially going to that dorm situation. It's just another step before of catching something. It might be afterwards in terms of finding where this guy went. You wouldn't have prevented it, but you would have been able to quickly find him by retracing those steps. It's a fine line between over policing. That's what one of the suggestions I can say. In terms of guns, the dude wasn't using a fully automatic gun. In terms of that, everything that he used up to that point was legally until he fired a gun. That was when it became illegal. In terms of that, he could have been on campus. Technically, you can't be on campus with a gun.
No, yeah, it's a no gun zone. But
No
like he
gun
was
zone.
on Grand River and he
Which is just
you
a
take that
street
one
over,
two steps.
which is
Yeah, like there's
literally just like you said, 2 steps. And Berkeley is about 15 feet away from Grand River, which is
you. I mean, you
It's
can
just-
access
it's hot-
the
you
back
can hop
door
the
from
fence,
Grand
yeah.
River.
It's literally right there.
yeah. So
Right by that
in terms
parking
of the gun
structure.
control on that, like
Yeah.
even in a place where it's very strict, like New York, there's still guns. You can find a gun if you need to find a gun, especially in America.
And they're not. Yeah, they're not going to stop you if the whole
I
the
wouldn't
whole
go
city is
into that
okay with
fast.
it.
And there's a
I'm
couple
saying you this
saying
is one zone. Oh, sorry about that, guys.
you can't go to a place where it says like so more gun control. Like this dude was using. It would be hard if you can't use the guns that he's using. You can't use any guns in terms of.
Yeah, you can't
Um,
block it that way. And
in
like I
terms-
said before, he wasn't a felon. He
Yeah.
purchased
The-
the
my
guns legally.
my take on it is this.
My last thing, though,
ahead.
take on this, is there should be more. My brother went through. Me and John talked about this too. My brother went through mental health illness, and to get somebody to talk to you for mental health is a lot of steps to get.
especially in Ingham County.
Yeah.
Like there are very few counselors that you can access. Even as an MSU student, before all this stuff happened, I try to go to CAPS at the beginning of the year. they'll go through and talk to you for a second and then try to refer you to someone else. But it's mostly like, okay, good luck.
And
we'll go through 2 counseling sessions and then
exactly.
Yeah, which is
and
really
then
weird.
If you had, we had good health insurance through my mom's job. We had good health insurance and became too much because of the system. And then my brother had to go to Medicare or Medicaid, one of those 2 programs to supplement the seeing counselors and different counselors in terms of that. And there's just not available walk-in something like that. Nope. There's plenty. You can see an emergency center or urgent care. Pretty much every other block you can find an urgent care in terms of that. So if something happens, there's not a place to where a wellness center, and there was a study done this week that I saw out of the. It's called the Global. I think I have it pulled up. It's called the Global Livability Index. It's done by the Economist Intelligence Unit, and it's a study done based on 173 metro cities in the globe. U.S. doesn't have 20. It's not in the top 20. There's not a city in the U.S. in the top 20 in terms of that. In the top 10, I think there's 3 Canadian states, cities in terms of that. I think 2 in the top 5 in terms of that. Let them know, and majority of it is 20% of that study is based on healthcare in terms of that. Having access to healthcare, the quality healthcare, and then also having mental health and wellness facilities for people. We can't have more yoga studios than mental health.
And like
mental health facilities.
As somebody who works in healthcare, like COVID took a damper on like any of the nurses, physicians assistants, doctors, it caused a lot of issues like that. They're starting to see those type of workforce issues. But even prior to COVID, behavioral health, you could go back to 2014 and look at the American Hospital Association. They've been saying since 2012, 2014, we don't have these folks. Yeah. And it hasn't gotten any better.
I mean, if you look at statistical trends.
There's a difference between, as that first study,
physical healthcare and
not just physical. Mental health has a spectrum in terms of that. Yeah. And I don't mean the 5% who are severely, noticeably mental health, because a lot of mental health is not noticeable in terms of that. Whenever I have bad days, you don't notice it. I can put up the front. But fortunately, I'm able to talk to you guys and communicate to you guys and reach out to a couple of my sponsors and mentors and accountability people to reel me back into reality in terms of just being there to listen to me, being there to have lunch with me, being there just to watch a game, whatever. And then I'm able to not feel so alone. But there's no space. So providing that in that sense of walk in and have somebody listen to you, walk in and have somebody just be there to listen to you, but just be there just to have green tea in terms of that.
Yeah.
Just to be there and to have an environment where you feel safe and not alone and being able to that. There's no way if AA AA exists because it works. Yeah. It's easier to stop smoke, to stop drinking with a group of people and being able to share and communicate in that program than by yourself, cold turkey.
Oh yeah, that's the number one cause of recidivism, right? Isolation.
Yeah. Somebody doesn't. But, you could take that with drugs, or you could take that with depression.
Anything like that.
And mental health is the same way. That's what I'm trying to say.
The issue in this play, where we are right now, right? And I think this might be even a global issue. Mental health is put on the back burner, brother. You know what I mean? There's
no money to be made.
Exactly. And the sad thing is, right? Like you said, all it takes is somebody just hear you out and hear you out in a manner where they actually are sincere. And this thing is that doesn't make money, right? Fam, I'll tell you.
It could.
Right before actually I got married.
Sorry.
It could, but then it comes only about the monetization aspect. Fam, I spent $4,000 on 4 sessions of therapy. Okay. It was stupid expensive. I was in a shithole, right? And I just wanted to just talk to somebody. And it was to a point it was embarrassing to talk to anybody else, but I want to talk to him. And then the only thing I got out of spending that much money, and it wasn't the fact that I was thinking about the money the whole time, but damn near was too. But the fact was, here's somebody who has never met me before, right? But has taken the chance to hear me 4 times. And those 4 times he's listened to me and he's act like he's cared about it, right? But the feedback, his advice that he gave was something that I already knew how to do and what to do. But what made it better was that this person doesn't know me and he's giving me the same advice. So maybe I am not losing my mind. Maybe I am following the right thing, because if he's saying that I'm right, and if I'm thinking that I'm right, maybe this is it. And yeah, that was money well spent, because after that, it was like, okay, so maybe my critical thinking skills are a lot better than what I would have previously thought they were, right? Because if here's a guy who's clearly has a degree in what I'm going through right now, and he's able to, deduce what is the right corrective action, right? Clearly he's of help, right? And before that, I was like, man, what's therapy going to do? But it really does help, man, because like you said, right? We have more therapeutic sessions amongst ourselves than I think we might have with anybody else. Let's be honest, right? But that's just how our bond is. And
yeah, please don't send me an invoice, because I know I got a lot of billables on you guys.
The thing is, bro, like we don't prioritize like we should, man. Like Sam said, in a situation like this, it's imperative to have things
Who takes to counter that?
But hold on, Sam. Before you go, Eve's got something to say, and then Sam, you go, and then after Eve and Sam, I'll go.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, with the mental health thing, I know that earlier we said that mental health is not necessarily the cause or not the cause.
No, sorry. Mental illness. Mental illness is what I said.
Oh yeah, mental illness. Yes, but talking about mental health,
but
because first I want to say, since you guys are talking about therapy sessions, I did when I was at MSU my second year, when I wasn't doing so well personally and my grades were falling before I brought it back up again. Thankfully, I went to the doctor once, and at the health center, and they make you fill out a form, and I was just filling it out because it's standard procedure. And then they saw the form and they said, "Oh, okay. Actually, I don't have you're fine, basically health wise, but I want you to go see the therapist." I was like, "Okay, yeah. I don't know why, but." It's like, "Are you sure?" It's like, "Yeah, I think you should." I don't know what question I answered or what it is, but it was like a form. And I went there, and I remember it was fine. It was good. It was helpful. But I think because I didn't have I was a student and I didn't have any other type of insurance, I think I only got to see the person twice. So yeah, and then that's it. That's it. So it's also a means thing. Not anybody can spend so much money, just to see a therapist. So I do agree with you guys that it should be more open.
Wait, Sam, before you go, because I know you said you were going to go next. Eve, I got my point was directly related to what you're talking about. So
yeah. So before I go to my
I agree with you where the means become an issue, right?
Yeah.
We always talk about gun reform, right? Why don't we talk about insurance reform? Right, there's a lot of things involved that are required when you have insurance that they have to cover, right? I have ADHD, has to be covered for, medication has to be covered. It's one of the most expensive medications out there. They're those companies love to charge people, right? Why isn't there a stipulation in any of this saying if you have insurance, that this should be something that is, we were talking about earlier about money, there's no money in it, right? But if you require that every health plan covered X number of sessions or something like that, there would be more money in there. And I think that would attract more talent, and more talent would bring in more opportunities, where it's not just the university only has, this guy is, he's got 45 people on there. He can't help you. He's got 2 sessions for you, and he's going to try to push you off onto someone else. If you require that and the insurance companies are paying for it, then the opportunities might be there. But sorry, Eve, I didn't mean to interrupt you at the beginning, but that's what I was getting at.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's we do need to talk about one of these days about insurance and healthcare. But because I couldn't go to those sessions at the time, I don't know if you guys remember where you were.
I do. I remember that.
Sam was also having trouble with going to class and academic stuff. So I didn't really
I was
burden
fucking my
Sam.
life up.
Saeed was, I don't know if you were still at LCC.
I think we were living
or
together.
Was going.
Or we were neighbors.
Yeah.
No, I was destroying
So,
my life at
yeah.
that point, bro.
And then JD, I think you were also like you were in Wisconsin, or you had some
he was in
also other
Wisconsin at that
things.
time.
Yeah. So there was really like nothing. Like I went through, basically was going through hell. Now thinking about it in retrospect, I thought maybe at the time like I was just a student. Maybe everybody goes through this, But like it was a hell of a year, of a semester. And ironically, the thing that kind of saved, because I was having panic attacks on my own, like in my room, like late at night and stuff like that. And it was really crazy. And my parents aren't there, right? Because I was, you guys are doing your own thing. I didn't really have family with me physically, So the thing is, like, ironically, that's when I got arrested. And then that's when I had to go. If you go through that process, probation, court, and all that, and that's what got the grades up, and that's what got me, to reevaluate everything.
Do you remember your therapy?
Do
Do you remember what you used for therapy though?
What?
This man went on the LL Cool J full workout and diet.
Oh yeah.
He came so
Yeah.
he was in a
That was it.
Hey,
That was it.
And that and that's until today. The truth is, even right now when I'm really stressed, I go work out or I go running. Running is just amazing. Yeah, running is the best way to de-stress.
Dude, we played football, but like, dude came out so buff and cut that summer, he was literally, because he had to make up all those classes, he would go class, gym, chicken, class, gym, chicken.
Yeah,
This one, you had the Kroger rotisserie chicken.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's the Kroger. That's one chicken a day. Yeah,
that was literally it. That he'll throw in some rice sometimes. Your class, gym, study in between, chicken. It was literally this set.
And that's what you gotta do sometimes, man, for the sake of your health.
But really, you have to be at the bottom.
I do have one more. That's actually not what I wanted to say. What I wanted to say is like related to mental health. Is this guy? I don't want to like glorify the shooter or anything like that or give him excuses, but I do want to talk about it. Like, I just want to. Sometimes you can't help but get into that mind state because, to be honest, we've all been in a place. We don't come from affluent backgrounds, so we have all been in a place where we know that if we would have ever made the wrong turn at some point, this could have been our situation. Could have been where this guy is. Okay, so I'm thinking sometimes I can't help but get into his mind state. So he's not a student. For all we know, he has no affiliation with MSU. Okay. He, JD, I don't know if your mic is on. So I don't know if you said something.
I was just gonna say I was backing up what you said.
Oh, okay.
He has no affiliation. They said that he might have like been denied a job, but
okay.
I'm not buying that. He has no association with it. He found a no gun zone.
We know that he offed himself. Okay, we know this.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't know, but it seems likely that he was probably going to do that anyway.
I mean, based on the letter in his wallet, I think it's pretty clear.
So, but why I think this is a mental health issue is if you are trying to make a point, like, some of the mass shooters, they want to have a manifesto. And so they go to crowded place. They go to, try to do something where the location is, going to have a lot of people, the timing, or it's an event. But this is like not even the most crowded place in town. It's a random class.
No, I mean, it wasn't a well thought out thing. But I think
it's
something where he wanted to inflict pain on society. Right?
Yeah,
like he feels like the like the world has left him behind and he's hurting and shit, and he wants, before he goes out, to make us feel like he felt.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem all that thought out. It seems like he could have come up with it that day. You know what I mean? Like he just having an extra really bad day and was like, okay, I'm just gonna go to find a place, not planned out, and it was just so random. And that randomness is really what makes it super tragic, right? Even compared to some with where there's more people that died. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out, like, because I was thinking, like, why the Union, why Berkeley? Like, there's so many other places. If your point was to just get in the headlines or get a kill count, like that's not the.
It could have been way worse.
Yeah, it could have been way worse. To be honest,
it's hard to unpack that mind. But
it's
like
hard
the
to
first
unpack.
report when they said that he might be in Phi-Psi, where I go to eat and shit. That would have been terrible. You know how many people? Like when I go to eat at 8 o'clock, you know how many people are there?
It's full, over 100. And like, that's what I was thinking. I was like, thank God it's only 3. Because it could have been way worse. It could have been way worse. And
it might be 7. We don't, they're still working on that stuff. But yeah, it could have been terrible. Like had he gone to like the March Madness rally or something, like they're not going to let him into the basketball stadium. But like if you've been outside, like
even outside,
it could have been terrible.
Tailgates.
Like if he went to Brody, if he went to Brody, then you'd see 9 people before you even made it to the first bathroom in the building.
And,
like it could have been
And I've seen students with like not just pistols, like students with like rifles on campus. Like these are
on campus,
Michigan, not on campus. I mean like the housings, in the houses and stuff. Because people in Michigan, people hunt. People have these sort of things, and they're gun enthusiasts.
And that's just I've seen like one dude was 4, 5, 6 guns.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So
almost up to the wall. So that's just.
So thankfully, this guy only had.
You remember Nick W?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's where.
Who?
So Nick, and this is why. This is why. Yeah,
that's my boy, man. I fucking miss that dude, bro.
That's why. Oh yeah. I'll censor that. But like, the gun, like he had. Thankfully, he only had that. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Like,
I do want to point out. Saeed said he went to the mental health facility and was charged out the wazoo. Saeed has full health care, I would assume, too. And he was still charged.
Now, hold on. The reason why is because my healthcare, the provider, was 4 months out. Oh. And it was better just to go pay somebody by the session than to wait. Because it's mental health isn't one of those things where you're like, you know what, today I'm going to put it on pause, but 4 weeks from now I'll be ready to go and be back.
And those insurance companies are just like the in-network stuff is not sufficient.
Exactly, bro. And another thing also, like JD, and sorry, Sam, to cut you off, but I just wanted to say this. But you guys remember the whole situation with BetterHelp?
Yeah, that's a scam.
So BetterHelp was a very, very affordable mental health, mental wellness check-in with like certified counselors and stuff, right? It turned out like they didn't do fuck all. It was essentially imagine me picking up the phone and like talking to somebody on the end and be like, yo, why don't you go ahead and suck the fuck up, right? Like that's essentially what it was.
Yeah.
And people utilize that up the wazoo, fam. And the issue was that people that are utilizing this weren't getting any better. And now BetterHelp, like, I mean, at one point in my life, I remember every YouTube channel was sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp this. If you're having trouble, talk to BetterHelp. Man, there might be 2 YouTube channels now that I've heard that on.
Yeah, because I remember Philip DeFranco.
It's the adequacy. Yeah, Philip DeFranco used to talk about it all the time, and now he's against it. Yeah. But it's the adequacy of the healthcare, brother. Like, I mean, think about it. If I'm
just terrible in Ingham County.
Yeah, dude. Like, fam. I mean, have you just think about it this way? Have you ever seen a Meridian cop? If technically that guy's supposed
not
to
answering
be
that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, they look like they look like Disney villains, bro. Like straight Disney villain art. And at that point, fam, it's like really you're forcing yourself to listen to me. And you can tell the genuineness, right? Because let's be honest, anytime we talk amongst each other, that's genuine, right? When I talked to that therapist, that was genuine. Why? Because I mean, I don't know if you always wanted my money, but it felt like, okay, this person's actually listening to me. But when you're just sitting there on the other end, and let's be honest, you over the phone, it's not really that much helpful. And personally, that's what I believe. You can tell, fam, like, okay, you're just sitting there because you have to. Yeah. You don't really give a damn, bro. Like, I can tell that this is more of a chore for you, and this is just a paycheck. And that comes into play where it's like, okay, we're going to get all these professionals in, right? Like even MSU counselors, we're going to get them in. But out of those MSU counselors, how many of them are actually verified and certified counselors than just somebody who's like, all right, you have a good personality, go sit down and talk to the students.
Yeah, so this is another thing about the provider adequacy that we were talking about earlier, where I said like I don't think that Ingham County has it, because like the like, so I went to CAPS right this past year. Like I started law school right when COVID happened, and I was like, hey, I need to talk to somebody. Went in there, they're like, yo, we have like 500 people. We got, same as you, Eve, we got 2 sessions for you, and then after that, we'll try to find somebody that could match up with you. But like, this is, I got 2 sessions for you. That's what you get. If you're not, if God forbid,
if you're not better by then, go ahead.
Yeah, like, we'll figure it out. And they're like, okay. So, give them my insurance and stuff. And, I got a decent job. Like, I think like, okay, they'll find somebody around here. The first 3 people I talked to weren't like, they weren't like clinical psychologists, right? Not saying that you have to be that, but they was mostly like people that had masters in social work or something like that. And it was like, I feel like you're helping, but I don't know, like that. I don't know how much you can help. Like I was sitting there and I was like, yo, I started law school and like I'm driven to distraction, right? I got ADHD. Anytime something stresses me out, I go towards like the Instagram reels or whatever the fuck it is, and I try to not think about what's going on. And I'm like talking to her and I'm like, I haven't done any of my papers. I'm so worried. All I keep looking at are these reels and stuff. And she's like, stop judging yourself. Like, just let you do you.
Yeah.
If the reel is what it is, like, you'll figure it out. And I'm like, no, this paper was due last week. Like, I don't know that that's like, telling me to like go into that isn't gonna, help things. Like, and I'm not saying that like, that everyone has to be like a PhD in psychology, but like, we do have to have some type of standard set for like what you're going through or what you're, and just set the parameters for what you're looking for as far as guidance, right? Like sometimes people just need an ear. That's great. Like they could definitely suffice.
Yeah.
But like sometimes, that it's not sufficient.
Yeah. I mean, like for physical health, they have all different types of specialties. I think like Sam said earlier, that it's a spectrum and people have different problems. And like you were saying, like maybe there needs to be something like that as well when we talk about psychology and psychiatry.
Okay, so I'll just wrap up I guess for me, what moving forward in terms of what should look like. I mean, cameras would be nice, more cameras, obviously. That's more practical, like do right now thing. I would not do any gun control in terms of that. And then lastly, I would have a facility where it's either city sponsored or even MSU sponsored, where it is free walk-ins to an environment where, and maybe one for the students and then one for the things, where it's just an environment where students can go there, sit down. Of course, like there's the lobbies where students can sit down and game, whatever, but have a professional there that deals with different issues. And a bunch of them are available right now, post this activity for students available, but are they available on a regular basis? Are they promoted on a weekly basis? Maybe having a mental health day on the week where students go every Wednesdays for this meeting and they express their tough struggles this week and stuff like that, where they can build a community amongst each other to help each other out. So kind of like AA, but for mental health in terms of meetings available. It's funny because I just Googled Mental Health Anonymous. There is a website that was created for their mission statements, and I'll read it before I do what's I thought it was funny. Is that this purpose of Mental Health Anonymous is to encourage those struggling with mental illness to seek support from their local communities. A free yet extremely valuable resource for recovery. Mental Health Anonymous aims to reduce stigma towards vulnerability around mental health battles and normalizing reaching out to help when it's needed, which is an amazing mission statement, and I completely agree with it. Then I went and clicked find meetings. So they have one virtual, one in Jersey, 1, 2, 3 in Jersey, and then one in New York. And they used to meet weekly. And I say used to because none of these meetings are currently running in terms of that.
Yeah.
in terms of that. So they have a website and everything, organization, and it could be for multiple reasons. I don't know why, but when you even have a Zoom one that can't even run in terms of that, that's where we're at in terms of they could not have gotten enough funding to continue it. That could be an option. They couldn't have enough engagement. I'll be reluctant to think that it is because of the issue. If you promote it, enough people will show up in terms of that, even if it is 2 or 3 people at first in terms of this struggle. And I see it on my Facebook feed on a regular basis, people crying out for help in terms of not saying I need help, but saying I'm alone in terms of that. I'm dealing with demons, not the word demons, but I'm alone and I don't feel like I need to live anymore. I've seen that a couple of times just the last couple of months from different individuals. So maybe something like this, maybe I might start something like this in East Lansing, just holding.
I think that would be great for all of you.
Honestly speaking, fam, like I was actually thinking about this the other day, fam. Like all 3 of us, I mean, Eve, obviously we get in here as well. Starting a nonprofit for like us 3, starting a nonprofit in East Lansing, right? And we could have that and pay those fundings for actual care, whether it be mental or whether it be just counselorship or whatever it may be, right? Just so that way we have certain avenues always readily available for individuals going through anything, right? And like that's something that even I could get started and get one majority of the work done, and just have you guys use your social media and just kind of get that word of mouth out.
Yeah, I mean, but
I think there's a lot of work
just to sit down and have a conversation.
Yeah, I think community building is going to be important going forward.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you can use it. For example, you can use the Grand Traverse Pie Company coffee spot. Just a group of people just having a coffee.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a business. We just want to bring
start somewhere.
That's what Tom was talking about.
Exactly. Just start somewhere, and that's a free resource. And if it expands, I'm pretty sure we could raise funds to rent a room.
Exactly.
Yeah. You guys, so we're talking solutions, right? You guys mind if I jump in?
That's my solution.
Go ahead.
Earlier I said I had an out-of-box solution, right?
Yeah, you did.
So the law school has, every time you go into one of the big rooms, they have all the doors, right? The doors, like since the Virginia Tech attack, right? There was obviously we all know what happened there, right? Mm-hmm. But there was, outside of what happened at Virginia Tech, there was a lawsuit that went against the university saying, hey, now that because so many shootings have happened, it's something that you guys should expect, right? Like that a lot of any tort law is based on whether or not like you should anticipate that it would happen, and that's where your liability comes in, right? If you thought there's a potential where I could expose someone to damage, then I have to protect against it, right? Virginia Tech thing happens. The court decides we're not going to attack Virginia Tech here, but hey, going forward, that was a note to every school. Hey, this is something that happens, and if you don't put in safeguards, like you're going to be found liable. The university is going to get hit if something like this happens, right? So that happens. My property professor had been there since whenever since there was no color TV, right? But he was like, when the Virginia Tech thing happened, they added in all these keys to every room, right? So when you go from the outside, it just looks like a normal door, right? And you come inside and it has like one of the press bars, right? When you leave, but each press bar has a key, and the key is on the inside. So like, let's say someone was shooting up the law school. They're like, oh, he's on the first floor. Grab the key. You hit the thing. That man could hit it with a bulldozer. He's not getting in the fucking door. Like it straight up locks it down, right? One solution that I thought about that would be great out of the box style. I know that everyone's like, oh, it was so open and all this stuff. Like, I think there should be some type of remote lockdown like they do with like gas lines. Like if a gas line fails, they can hit a block at some point and be like, oh, we're not going to let it flow through there, right? Maybe you have a central security office, right? Like as soon as it happens at Berkeley, you hit a button and now every door on campus doesn't open, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't necessarily have to protect people. Like, I mean, like, not, but I'm saying, like, if you had that aspect in there, I mean, the downside is that, like, if depending on when you hit it, that you could lock the person in there with the fucking shooter, right? So, I mean, maybe I'm still working through this. Maybe this is a dumbass idea, but like something like that would prevent any other, like they're like, oh, shelter in place, like barricade the doors and stuff. If you had like a secure lockdown, that man has no access to any other buildings, and you could do like you do it room by room. Like, I mean, like I said, I'm still working through this. I don't know if this is a great idea because, he could have been locked in the room with people that would have survived and not, but I think that something like that should be installed. Maybe instead of like if it were happening, you lock down every other building but the one that it's happening in, so you could let those people survive. But you would never have to worry about him making it to the union, or you wouldn't have to worry about sending an email saying, "Hey, he's got to," like at that point, that they don't have access to shit. Like I said, with that thing, you put the key in the thing in the law school, bro. I don't care if you have a sledgehammer. I don't care what you have. You're not getting into the fucking room.
No.
And I think those doors, though, allow you to leave. It just won't allow entry. If I remember those doors.
Maybe talking about
they
the
have
fire
the same
doors.
one at the library. They allow you to leave, but you can't enter in terms of that. If I remember correctly, because when I worked at the library, it was the same situation. Because like you can't re-enter without having access, whatever keypad access, but you can leave without scanning your card. You know what I'm saying?
But it's not a scan card. It's like
I know what you mean. The key, the key. But like I've seen it because I used to go when I worked at the library. I went in before the library became open, in terms of that, and I scanned to get in. But the door is locked. But if I wanted to leave, I could just walk out, and the door is not locked.
Yeah.
And somebody has to individually unlock those after hours or before hours, in terms of. And
I feel like it would help with response time, because like at the law school, for instance, like if something were like, oh, something's happening, you have to have somebody like physically walk up, like put the thing, like. It takes some time, and also disseminating information like that. That was clearly, an issue when all this happened, as far as like, nobody knows what's going on, things like that. Is somebody on Battle.net?
Yeah, what the hell is that?
Sorry, that's my fault. Yeah.
What?
I
get some League of Legends in.
No, I just turned it in. I just turned it on.
I got to get take off soon, but let me just add in, right? Like, obviously these are great solutions and preventable measures that we could take, but I think one of the biggest things, like Tom Izzo said, is just love trumps hate, bro. And in this particular situation, man, it's imperative to check on those that are down. It's imperative to check on those that may be going through facing some demons on their own, and that maybe those things could most certainly prevent situations like this from occurring across the country, across every other country, and across our nation as well. And I think it goes without saying, right? I think there's a lot of divide amongst us, whether it be something based off political parties, gender, race, whatever it may be. But I think it's time to put those shit aside and really just take care of our brethren that are left to your left and right, right? And I think that's the most important thing to take away from all this. And I know it sounds mad cliche, right? Like, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that's exactly what I believed in, right? But I think after having to deal with this in a place where you grew up, right? Like something that just perverts your childhood innocence. It's eye-opening to really see that, dude, indeed, that is what will fix this, right? Is making sure that we're there for each other, making sure that we don't even have people go through that mindset of, okay, I'm going to hurt others to make myself feel better, or whatever the case may be, right? And I think that's where the small step starts. Like Sam, like Eve, like JD already mentioned, right? Maybe we do start off with better mental health care. We do start off with more sophisticated avenues of communication amongst counselors and people that are going through those things, right? Or maybe we just suck it up and we reach out to the person that we know is struggling without having to put impose any restrictions on our own, and see if they're okay. And maybe that is exactly what we need at the end of the day, is just more brotherhood and more camaraderie amongst us human beings.
I appreciate everything you said, and I think that's very valuable. But I think as a country, like now that it hits us here, now we can say like, oh, I never thought it would happen here. This is some wild shit, right? But like, we have to recognize that that's the same viewpoint that all these other communities have said. And it hasn't done shit.
That's why I was. That's why I wanted to go last.
But then again, have we ever tried it wholeheartedly? Have we ever tried it without having to fucking cut corners on?
No, but what I'm saying is systemically, like I said, I think that we are all like, oh, bootstraps yourself. You're, stand on your own.
Not all. I haven't gone yet. Not all. I haven't gone.
No. That's what I'm saying, though, right? Like that bootstrap mentality is exactly what I'm trying to combat in this particular situation. Maybe it is time for us to have that wake up call, and instead of trying to compete against each other, instead of trying to be at each other's throats, maybe help elevate each other.
Yeah, okay. But I'm just saying from a data.
Sorry, Eve. No, go ahead. Go ahead. I was going to
say solution. From a data perspective, Eve, you can wrap us up and give it to us. But I'm just saying, we could say all these other things are going to be solutions and shit, right? But what you're saying is absolutely true. But is it something that's feasible in the country? Can we provide adequate mental health care? And then can we also you have to realize the individual aspect, right? Like, if you're going through some shit, when I'm going through some shit, I'll reach out to you guys and be like, bro, I haven't been taking care of myself. I haven't been doing my shit, but this guy or anyone else that does this stuff, I
don't think it's a matter of
can, though. More than just,
it's a matter of will. And will is no. Can we? Hell yeah. Oh, yes, we can. Will we? God heavens no, fam. Like, it's gonna be another.
I'm just saying, this has been going on since when did Columbine happen?
Yeah, 99. Yeah,
exactly. Things have not gotten better since then.
Actually, I don't have much to say.
That you're shocked that it happened here. For me, I wasn't.
Wait, sorry to interrupt you, Sam, but I've been cutting off Eve for a long time. Let him talk for a second.
Yeah, no. So this goes back to the beginning of the episode when I said. We already had this discussion. And it's funny listening to you guys. I'm not because we have to think about it two ways. Like, we have to think about this specific situation. How do we help it, right? And these are good solutions. Even I gave my opinion on better mental health and all that thing. But now let's look at the country, okay? And let's not pretend like the United States is not going through an epidemic of gun deaths and mass shootings for the past over a decade. Let's just not pretend like it's not happening, because it's not happening anywhere else in the world. Okay, it's only happening here. It's unique to the United States. Okay, and I'm not talking about like civil war and those sort of places. I'm talking about developed countries, right? Developed countries, meaning U.S., Canada, a few countries in Europe, Japan. Okay. Like, this is, so when we talk about solutions, I feel like there isn't a solution. Like Sam said, this is not a surprise. It just happened to happen to us this time. And it's going to continue to happen. And there have been countries, Australia is one of them, New Zealand is the other one, where once they had one mass shooting, they banned all guns. And they had no more mass shootings. So I'm gonna
play devil's advocate.
Yeah, I'm just saying. People want people. I know last time you guys all brought statistics and showed if the cars killed so many deaths. No, hold on. All right, hold on.
These are all gun-free zones where this shit happens.
So what I'm saying is, let's look at those statistics. Okay, where the whole country has been able to get away from mass shootings. But I understand what you're saying, John. Like,
no. I'm agreeing
with a uniquely American problem. We need a uniquely
exactly.
American
because
solution.
The truth is, we'll never. Let me just
Zealand's prime minister.
I
just wanted to catch it for the New Zealand thing.
Okay.
But go ahead.
All right.
But no, New Zealand thing, you're making a great point. But what did the New Zealand Prime Minister just do a couple of months ago?
What? She resigned.
She stepped down because she was like, I'm inadequate.
That has nothing to... That's not...
No. Anyway. How many people will do that here, though? How many people will do that here?
All right.
Nobody.
Okay. So back to... Okay. Back to United States. The problem with the United States is it's so much bigger than all the country, these countries. It's like having 50 different countries, right? Basically.
Not only that, but it's in our DNA. It was the
it's the Second Amendment. So I understand.
The First Amendment is the government can't come at you for saying shit, and you can collect. The second one was like, stay strapped, bro.
So like that's the thing. it's almost as unrealistic as hoping that insurance companies are going to sacrifice for our mental health by giving us more. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like it basically what I'm just being cynical. Maybe I'm just being cynical, but I feel like it's just always going to happen. It's just always going to happen. I'm sorry. Like this is living in America
that we've seen outside of gun
this is living in America, and unless we're going to start putting AI capable CCTVs where they can recognize if someone is strapped 24/7 being monitored, like exactly. Yeah. So you can't have it both ways. Like either you give the freedom to stay strapped, freedom to shoot, and freedom to die. Yeah. Then you know it is what it is.
But let's also not mistake the fact that all these places, like the elementary schools, I don't know what the solution is there. People say armed teachers. I'm not.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy.
But I'm saying with the universities, like these are gun-free zones with adults and shit, right? And it's kind of been a tearing point for me because I'm pro-gun. I don't think that everyone should have access to all types of guns, but I have firearms, and when I heard this shit was going down, like I said, if he comes on to Kipling, game time, you know. But also let's not forget the fact that these people go to attack places that are gun-free zones, right? Yeah. Like they don't go to places where they think that you could, like that there's a well attack. They go because they're like, there's a bunch of vulnerable people that can't fight back. But also, I recognize that saying like, gun, like as somebody who's been in college at 18 and had, been a dumbass 18, 19-year-old,
right.
I don't know that, like filling it with ammo is going to help it. But I'm saying like if he went into Berkeley and I was sitting in Berkeley with my gun, he wouldn't have made it out of there, right? But also like I'm not saying that that's a real solution.
Yeah. Like, it's not a viable solution.
I don't know what it is, but I'm saying there is something to be talked about that they always attack areas where you're not allowed to have firearms.
Yeah. But I mean,
like they go to elementary schools and universities where you can't have this shit on. If I go onto campus, even if I have a CCW, I'm catching a felony. Like
but look at it from a broader
these are a bunch of vulnerable people they can attack.
Yeah.
But you can't expect all of Harpers to be strapped though.
That movie theater, one of the biggest massacres.
Batman one, yeah.
You could hold a gun in that movie theater.
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair.
But he went in there and did he lit it up. So at the end of the day,
it's subjective what the solution is.
It just hits home when it's defenseless.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. But just one last point I want to say.
With Eve, even though I'm pro gun, though, you can't. No matter what the correlation is, we're the most armed country.
Yeah. But you brought up a good point on New Zealand, right? But look at the politicians there, bro. She knew that she couldn't handle the job. She stepped down. Fam, we have motherfuckers that are farting dust still at the fucking
bro, they have dementia, bro. They have dementia and they're still in office.
So, come on, fam. Like, that lady literally took the fucking mental, like, the pedestal was like, you know what? I don't want it. You guys go ahead and figure it out.
Okay,
so I have that.
I got a theoretical for you. Let's say we go opposite side, right? We've always been pro-gun. That's what we're doing, right? Let's say we go England, right? No guns, right? I have a 3D printer upstairs. A lot of people have 3D printers. Do you think they're not going to print ghost guns?
No,
I don't have the thing is, just to be clear,
shakes,
if Biden's watching,
but hold on. But this guy was not the type of person that's going to print out a 3D printer gun. Like I said, like this guy didn't plan anything. Like it's just a random thing.
Well, I mean, it doesn't look like he planned it based on his actions, but like you also can't diagnose like that.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
He might have been thinking about it for a long time.
You're right. You're right. Maybe he's just an idiot. Yeah, but like
he might be a bad planner.
Definitely an idiot. That's for sure.
But all I'm saying is like even when Saeed said knives, like at least a 19-year-old college student has a chance against a guy with a knife, especially a 20-year-old college student. Right?
But the thing is,
not a guy with a gun.
Go towards
laws don't change the way that people act, though. Like,
no, but
you know what I'm saying? Like, you could outlaw shit, you could do stuff like that. Someone who goes into a school to shoot somebody and stuff doesn't respect the law, doesn't respect the rules.
No.
So, like, changing the rules for all of us isn't necessarily going to change the way that man acts.
It just covers it up, though, and it gives him less access in terms.
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to go to Walmart and buy the gun. That's for sure.
Yeah. But that doesn't. It's going to take time to get to that level, first of all. But it's in my opinion.
Especially, bro, we have 350
I'm more
million
open
guns
to it now.
You stop selling them, they don't go away. This motherfucker's still here.
That's what I'm saying. There's no one who's going to collect those in terms of that. And there's still, like, we're allowed to do a lot more hunting stuff than any other country.
And that's the thing, yeah. Because you can't. Because then you'd have to stop hunting. And it's like, you're right.
Can do that. You got nothing to hunt. You know?
Uniquely,
also, there's a big cultural tie between, like, governance dominance and gun ownership. Like, the whole reason people are like, oh, I'm not going to give up my guns because they think as soon as they do, the government's going to oppress them and then they have a voice.
It's not going to happen without like a mini civil war, to be honest. So that's not really a practical solution in the U.S. But
I don't know if that could happen. if we like tomorrow, if they pass the thing saying like all guns are banned, turn them in and shit.
Texas about to get nuked, bro.
Bro, I'm locking all my doors, dude. I'm going to the fucking basement, dude. I don't know.
There's not going to be a civil war. It'll just be. We will be.
Bro, you guys remember January 6th? They didn't take any guns then, bro. They didn't even take guns. They just took the Orange Man.
This, right?
These guys went wild.
How is it that we are the greatest economy on the fucking planet? We were able to spend $600 billion on fucking weapons, right? We can't stop this shit from happening. We fucking knew. We spent $400,000 on a missile to bring down a $2,000 balloon.
Bro, there's a company out there trying to sell Kevlar to people after this shit happened.
No, I'm saying, why is it that we could do that?
Finish it up, Sam. Close it up.
Yeah. One solution, though, and all of us would agree to this, is of course, show love to each other and reach out for people that you know, that don't let a blind eye go in terms of when you see somebody that you don't even normally talk to, maybe you don't really know them personally, they're just friends of a friend, and they pull out a cry for help and they either post or share something. Don't let that go unnoticed. You noticed it, reach out to them in terms of that. And then it's so cheesy, but pray. Just pray for a better world in general. And pray for the parents, especially, of course, the ones that have lost it. There's no level to it, but if you're still in critical condition 5 days later, it's not a good sign in terms of health. So just pray that there's no more death to this. That's what I would suggest. But check in with people, and it sounds like we're gonna have a little project and just a meetup in terms of mental health, and hopefully we can get that done within the next month.
Be compassionate to your fellow man. That's really the end of the story.
Absolutely.
If you see it, definitely reach out to that person individually. If you see it, hear about it, and not publicly, just one-on-one. Send them a message, DM. If you don't have it, just send them a quick message, private message. Say, hey, you're loved, you're cared for, you're not alone. If you ever want to talk, reach out. It means the world. It means the world in terms of that.
Now, with that being said, we all ask Call of Duty.
Give us your feedback, what you think.
All right, guys. So we'll next week we'll get back to some fun, a little bit more fun topics.
Yeah, sorry about the deep.
Yes. LeBron is still the greatest basketball player.
Rihanna halftime show.
Still the best soccer player.
LeBron the best. I love my.
Was mid. Rihanna halftime show was mid. All right.
Rihanna? Rihanna was mid.
Mid.
We don't want
mid. Okay, so I will say the performance probably mid, but I will say throughout the performance, I recognize I'm like, damn, he's like me and Sam were talking. Each one of these songs is an era in my life. Nothing but bangers. Like the performance.
That's what I'm saying. The performance. I'm a Rihanna fan.
Yeah, they didn't bring in anyone new.
I like Rihanna more than
white
Beyonce.
Ass mushroom or what are they called? Marshmallow shit.
What's she gonna do?
Yeah,
she's pregnant. What do you expect her to do?
I'm saying I didn't say that she had to do it. Like they could the fucking backup dancers could have changed. They could have brought in some support for somebody. You know,
where her name?
I mean, like really. Yeah, Bruno Mars was way better. Last year was way better. Even the Beyonce Bruno Mars Coldplay one was better.
I enjoyed it.
Being honest, I enjoyed Bruno Mars doing his Super Bowl.
Oh no, Bruno Mars 2014 was the best.
Last year's was more wild moments. Don't get me wrong.
Last year hit different though. That was our childhood.
Nah, I'm fucking with that. Last year was one of the greatest ever, bro. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Ever.
Are you serious? 50 Cent came out upside down. Are you fucking kidding me?
That was just
That was the first album.
But I'm saying,
Richard
I.
I.
Musically, that wasn't. And I'm a big rap guy too.
Has anyone ever said that musically 50 Cent, Dre, and Eminem were like the best thing that
I'm sorry.
hit your ears?
What's better?
Like,
What Rihanna song is bigger than In the Club? What Rihanna song is bigger than?
Are you
No, what Rihanna song is better than In the Club? No,
5 seconds.
Nah,
is definitely
bro.
better than that, bro.
5 seconds.
Let's not.
The best song she played yesterday was
body
All of the
of work?
Lights. That wasn't even her song.
Bro, her body of work was way bigger.
Man?
Her body of work was way bigger.
Yeah.
I was entertained.
Yeah, body of work, fine.
But none of it hits the same way as many.
No,
men, if we're being
visually,
honest.
Yeah,
by
that's
far, last year was better.
Bruh.
Visually, by far, last year's was better.
Dre Day, bro. No song of
Visually.
hers bigger than Dre Day.
Visually, last
Lose
year's
Yourself?
was better.
Yeah, okay. Last year's was better. Okay.
Visually, only visually.
They should have given Rihanna more support.
if I was
they should have brought
blind-
in somebody else to do.
But
To
if
give
you
her
were
some
blind,
time
you would
off
have been
or
more
something.
entertained by Rihanna. If you were blind.
Rihanna should have brought out ASAP
If I
Rocky,
was
bro.
blind?
No.
No, her body of work speaks for itself. There's a reason
Fine.
why, and I went through that and I was like, bro, she has so many #1 hits.
Yeah,
and I
she
don't
does,
mean like
yeah.
top 10 or no,
Yeah.
I'm saying #1 hits.
Okay,
Hey,
but
I love y'all.